So I'd like to open this meeting for the Town of Newbury Planning Board on January 20th, 2016. We have no appearances tonight. We do have some ongoing business issues. The first item is recommendation to the Selectmen regarding a 61A parcel at 255 High Road, notice of intent to sell for another use. Is that what you all are here for, by any chance? You are. Because that's really the major thing we have on the agenda. We have sent a letter to the Selectmen that in essence says the following.
Actually, it hasn't gone yet, if there's anybody who's got comments.
Oh, I thought it is gone.
Yeah, no, it was for comment, so.
I apologize,
That's okay.
because I know that I looked at it the other day and I thought it had gone. So, do we, I apologize for that. Do we, anybody have any comments or questions about this letter?
I read it, I have no comments.
That's good.
Peter,
I'm good with it.
John?
Looked good to me.
So now, we think it's going to be sent.
Right, the only question was, and going back through the meeting minutes, and I got partway through, I apologize, I wasn't able to finish them, but Adam had said that if he were to acquire it, in the end, he would be willing to put a preservation restriction on the barn for 30 years, and I know the Historical Commission is interested in seeing it preserved. I didn't know if the board wanted to add that to the letter or let it go as it is. You all didn't really discuss that.
Yeah, no, we haven't. So the proposer, in his, what he'd like to do with it, would like to see it remain as a barn for at least 30 years, right? 30 years?
That's what he
And he
said, a
put it on a
30-year
preservation
restriction. Right, and he'd be using the half that was the residence as a residence, and the other half is his.
Anybody have any
workshop.
thoughts or comments on that?
Has he put that in writing yet? He's just made an offer.
He's just yeah, none of that is in writing, because the purchase and sale for the 61A, there can't be any contingencies on it, so that's something that would kind of follow. But he did mention that, as well as a 30-year conservation restriction on the 10-acre parcel that he would be building his house on.
Well, it seems to me that we get to that if the selectmen don't proceed with option one.
Right,
So when we get to that, then we can take that up.
right, because it will go through the subdivision process.
Right. And so for those of you who didn't get that, what our recommendation is, we have concluded that the property at 255 High Road does not have potential to serve municipal needs. That's what we were asked to do. In our opinion, did it serve municipal needs? And does not recommend, and we do not recommend that the town exercise its right of first refusal option to purchase the parcel for municipal use. However, given its adjacency to other protected land and presence of prime agricultural soils for the parcel, the board does see benefit in maintaining this lot as open space as active farmland. It therefore recommends that, meaning the planning board recommends that the Board of Selectmen vote to assign the town's right of first refusal to a qualified, nonprofit land trust or other conservation organization should one be interested in purchasing the property in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 61A, Paragraph 14. If no conservation organization has interest in purchasing the property, the board would then recommend that the selectmen vote not to exercise its right of first refusal so that the proposed sale of the property to the Trues can proceed. So that's what we're saying. So that is going to be sent to the selectmen tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow, it'll be included in their package.
So
for
should I
Tuesday.
sign this now, or do you have a clean copy? I'll do it later.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Any questions on what we're saying here?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay. And so just to conclude this discussion of the, of what the Trues would do to the property. I do have one other question, is that we've said that they did not exercise the right, but what happens, do we have a time frame for when this right of first refusal by the conservation group has to be exercised? I mean, I don't think we want to say it's for a year.
No, what happens is, the Board of Selectmen have to choose to exercise their right or transfer or let it go through by March 2nd.
And when they do
And-
that, they will impose a time limit?
So that would be the outside date, but if, you know, if they make that decision beforehand and they assign it to a nonprofit, then the nonprofit has 90 days within which to close.
Okay,
So,
Perfect.
you know, it's
Perfect.
not forever.
that's perfect. Okay, sure. Name and address?
I'm the one who currently is handling the estate, is my father. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. So, I mean, nothing has been decided. It's still pending. But it'll be another 90 days after that you would transfer this to. that you would have-
It could be.
It could, that's my understanding anyway. And if,
I was just under the impression that, I mean, the 120 days was to kind of, either
Yeah.
buy it or don't buy it, and,
right,
another 90
If
days.
they decide not to assign their right to a conservation group who would then have the ability to buy it, then it's immediate, if you will. But if they do assign their right, the selectmen, the right of first refusal to an agent, then they are given 90 days to close on that property, or then it just goes back to whatever the Trues are proposing.
Okay, so, I mean, so that 90 days starts all over again, I guess.
Yeah, it could. We don't want to prejudge and say what the selectmen are going to do. We don't know.
Yeah.
right. I mean, that really depends on when, when they take the vote on what, their disposition is going to be. The public hearing is continued to next Tuesday, the 26th. Whether they close the public hearing that night or they have some reason to continue it to their next hearing, that will be up to them.
And, whoever buys it, whether it's a conservation group, they buy it as was stated in the purchase and sale, right? So there's no other adjustments that take place,
I mean, dollar-wise.
dollar-wise and, whatever.
Well, the use would be different if it's the conservation, but the dollar-wise,
Kind of an as-is.
I assume it's, yes,
Right.
for your
I mean, if-
perspective, yes.
Yeah.
The dollar amount
Yeah.
remains the same.
Right, the dollar amount's the same. If it does get transferred or assigned to a conservation organization, at least 70% of it needs to be kept in conservation. So, but that, that wouldn't really impact the
Yeah.
sale to you.
Fair enough. Yep, thank you.
You're out of there.
Welcome.
Anyone else have any comments or thoughts on this? Okay. The second item we have is a report on the Municipal Building Committee's activities by Martha. The committee has been meeting. We had a number of discussions, large town meetings in Town Hall in the fall, and I'm not sure when your meetings began, but if you would start off and let us know what's going on, that'd be great.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Well, starting with the Saturday, October 3rd meeting and the charge that was given to the Municipal Building Committee at that point, which was to look at the option of building new town hall, new police station on this site, and then look at that, evaluate that in relation to the previous proposal to build the public safety building on the far side of the fire station. So the Municipal Building Committee has been meeting. It's been sort of increasingly well-attended for a while. A lot of residents have been coming who, some of whom continue to propose alternative solutions.
Sites and solutions.
Sites and solutions. But the municipal building, and some of those have been brought to the selectmen, particularly at their last meeting. But the Municipal Building Committee is proceeding with the charge that it was given. That hasn't changed.
Would you say exactly again what you,
Yeah, I
What
would
the-
ask, I don't quite get
what
what
your
the mission
charge
is.
exactly
Okay,
is.
so the charge is to evaluate, and we had done this already
Right.
last year, evaluate doing a new police station, new town hall on this site. So that would mean, raising this building and constructing something new. And we did have a program and a feasibility study for that. It's now in the process of being revised by CSS Architects out of Wakefield. They did the original study. The program has been tweaked a little bit. We got some information, some requirements for a media room. We're trying to still resolve our record storage issues and things like that. So CSS is in the process of updating that with program. They will do a new per square foot budget. Eric is also arranging for an independent third-party estimator who will do a more detailed takeoff once we have that. And when we have those budget numbers and the program, it will be evaluated, I guess, against the previous plan for the public safety building.
So as of right now, what do you anticipate the difference being between what was put forward back in the fall and what would be put forward now in terms of square footage, et cetera?
And the square footage, actually, the numbers have been changing, so I don't really want to, I mean, it's small, it will be smaller than what that building was. And dollar-wise, I think we're looking at something closer to 8 million as opposed to 11 million. But that all needs to be finalized.
That is the police station and
And
town
town hall.
Where?
Here.
Okay.
Right.
So this building is demolished.
So, under that scenario, this building would be
And
demolished.
we do start all over again.
Right,
Now,
right.
the fire department is not involved in
That,
this?
they're not involved. Tracy has been still negotiating with them, and one of the issues, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, just build a police station over on the other side, but we don't own that land. There's no agreement right now to buy
Yeah.
that land. Tracy's been discussing it with them. Negotiations are ongoing, but there's nothing that's been set, so we kind of have to work with what we have right now. And, the selectmen are in agreement that critical factors are having water and sewer, because we're now hooked up to sewer here.
Yeah.
And that, knocks out some of the other sites that have been proposed, because the development costs then get to
They
be
don't have utilities, yeah.
quite high. So,
So you have, the issue here is you have land, you own it,
right,
you have water, and you have sewer.
right,
Those are pretty substantial
Right.
development costs.
right, exactly.
So the only thing we're missing probably is parking.
Well, parking, CSS is looking at that right now, and, the scenarios, they've been looking at scenarios, and we can, certainly meet the code requirements, and we're also looking at it in terms of a larger, long-term master plan whereby we would acquire the Protection 2 property, potentially build a new fire station on the other side at some point, and then it becomes a campus where we have parking in the middle, or
That's a shame to lose out on the commonality. There's so much to be gained by having the two public safety departments in the same doggone building. That's
Could not
just,
agree
Yep.
more.
that's
but
just absurd.
That's
But
not what
people have
came out of that
spoken,
meeting.
now they
Did you
must
go to that
pay.
Saturday meeting?
Pardon me?
Were you at that Saturday meeting where all the community was in here and they were?
I
all
don't
these ideas?
remember. I don't
It
think
It was
I
like
was.
in,
it was October 3rd.
October? Was
October
October?
3rd.
No, I don't
anyway,
think I was.
that's what came out of it. And the selectmen ran the meeting and they said, okay, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, and a lot of people are still, they're just not interested in supporting the fire in the mix. And
Yeah,
even
they-
though the needs are significant, but
Probably
not
not
as
as
well
bad as
understood.
the police, but the needs are definitely there.
they are. I mean, even things like the equipment bays, for the newer equipment, the bays are really too narrow, so they can't get the doors open all the way to, get in, things like that, so.
Yeah, and having the fire chief there and the fire station there doesn't make all the sense in the world either. He belongs in the fire station, but where the hell do you put him? I have no idea where you'd put the chief.
So the major question I've had with this analysis is temporary relocation
Right, right.
and the costs. And first of all, where are they? And the costs attendant there too.
And we've got several issues along those lines. First of all, the trailers have to be gone by July 1st.
All of them?
Yes,
Front and
Yeah.
side?
yep.
By July 1st?
Right, unless there's a positive vote to move forward on a project, which might be able to buy us a little time, those trailers are gone. So that's inspectional.
Why do they have to be gone? What's
The
They're
code
not,
issue.
yeah, they're not allowed under code. They're allowed,
issue,
yeah,
okay.
they're allowed temporarily for a certain period of time. And that clock has been ticking and is about to run
We're
out.
way over that time now, are we not?
Well, the new ones, I think, basically got us a year. So as of June 30th, that's done. So Tracy has been investigating alternatives to relocate Inspectional Services, Board of Health. The fire chief will go over to the fire station, is my understanding. And then if the scenario goes forward, whereby this is the site and it gets demolished, then we'll have to look at other, temporary relocation for all of us.
People working out of the library and the DPW barn and everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. We had been hoping that we might be able to use the fire hall. We had been hoping that we might be able to use the fire hall, but
Yeah.
For various
That-
reasons, that's not, that's not in the cards.
Under the circumstances, that could be problematic.
So that will be part of the, part of the equation. Eric is carrying relocation costs, but the other scenario would have allowed us to move forward. That was kind of the first domino to get that built, and then,
There's no relocation. I mean, it's
There's-
just you move in.
right. There might be some temporary inconvenience for people here at Town Hall while renovations were done, but we could probably work around that. But, that is a downside for this proposal, but,
It is because we don't have that many options in town.
right.
Might have more in Newburyport. I mean, I hate to sound, right? I mean, there's more vacant stuff in Newburyport than there is here. So I don't know. what
And
to
that's
do.
being explored,
Is it?
yeah.
Or Angelo. He's got space.
That's true, he does have some
He does
space.
have space.
Was the building that was kicked around as possibly acquiring, would there be
That's-
rental space in that one?
That's been
No?
sold, I don't know what they're,
Okay.
yeah, so that's off the table, I
Well,
don't know if there would be any.
The requirement is, but in
Right,
terms, I was
so-
thinking only in terms of a year's.
Right,
rental
understood,
for
I
At
don't,
least part of the team.
yeah, I don't know what the new owners are using it for, whether they have it filled or whether there's any potential for
Is
rental
that the
there.
property out at 95?
The Apple
Yeah,
building.
The Apple building. So the other thing that's in process right now is Eric primarily, but he and I have been working on an RFQ for an owner's project manager. And, the discussion around that is whether the RFQ should go out now and we get the project manager in before town meeting, and this person might help with the evaluation process for the two different proposals, or if that person comes in once we actually have a project, because, right now, nothing has been voted. We have nothing to go
Well, you've got to
forward.
commit, if you hire him as the CM, you've got to commit to a fair chunk of change.
Well, it might be contingent, or maybe there would be a two-step RFQ or something like that, but,
And it's also that, am I right, that you hire that kind of person when you know what you're doing?
that's generally,
Well-
yeah.
Not when you're looking for alternate sites and things
Well,
like that, am I
they
right?
can be useful for that. It's another set of the eyes and ears and thoughts for getting one of the biggest tank traps in this kind of a project is, whoops, we've committed $5 million and the project comes in at 5, 6. What the hell do you do then? We ran into that in the high school.
Sure.
And that leads to a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth, believe me. So
But-
it's useful. By the same token, it would be better if they could concentrate on a project that's a done deal.
Right, and that certainly helps, in terms of cost for the OPM, the
Yeah.
more well-defined the scope of services is.
So with
I would-
that, do you think you need to go to town meeting and say, here's what we're gonna present, and then if we get this approved, then we'll hire the PM?
I would think we should let him work along with the architect during the detailed drawings.
Well, and that's actually required under Mass General Law for projects of a certain
is it
size.
really?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the OPM,
So then that fits.
right, so then the OPM would be working with
Are
the.
there others, are
the
there others
design-
on your group that think we should have a PM sooner?
Yes. No, not on the committee per se, but there are people who have been attending our meetings who feel that we should
what's
have an
their
open.
That
Logic
represent PMs? You mean that
Well,
represent the companies?
some who have actually been PMs in the past are not active right now.
Okay.
They're not representing PMs,
Okay,
but having done it, they feel that there is benefit to bringing the OPM sooner rather than later.
yeah.
So that's all part of the discussion, and we're trying to
Okay.
to sort
I'd be-
that out.
I can't wait to find out who they are, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
So, anyway, there are a lot of things there that we're trying to get
Wheels
sorted
within
out with
wheels.
with the goal of having something to present at that town meeting for a vote. But once we get all the pieces sorted out, there's still gonna have to be a whole, public information process to get the word out, and hopefully, we can find good avenues for doing
Who's
that.
on your committee?
We've got 10 members, so it's, Eric is the chair, Tracy, Sam, John, Lucy, I,
Mike,
Mike Doyle, Steve Fram, a resident named Richard Ronder who lives over, Rolfs Lane, Don Jarvis, and Nate Walker. And then Damon is our selectman's liaison.
Okay.
And, in the interest of trying to get information out, Eric is now starting to try to provide updates at every selectman's meeting.
Well, I guess at a point in time, I mean, the major criticism at the meetings after it was defeated in the spring, whenever we met,
It was, the special, it was the
Special,
September
the special.
September 15th.
special town meeting, was people had issues with information that they'd received on this. And, it's really right around the corner to town meeting.
It is right around the corner to town meeting, as you,
So, so everything from, outreach to, meetings going to various parts of the community and having things on the website on it seemed to me critical at this point
right,
in time.
absolutely. And I don't know whether the Vote Yes committee will remobilize to help with this effort, or if there's going to be a new group of people. As you all know, we now have social media, and hopefully some of that can be used. But we have to, from the town's point of view, we can provide information, but we can't do advocacy. So.
Right, but you don't have to do it, but you need to just put out.
Right.
We need to put out public information about what is being proposed and what are the implications, in
Exactly.
particular, to the tax rate.
Exactly.
Because the
exactly.
tax rate information came in very late on the last time.
did.
And everyone was going, well, I don't know.
Right, right.
Which
Yeah,
is
it
too
came in,
bad.
unfortunately, I think about 2 weeks
2 weeks,
before
yeah.
they
So
finally
that's
had
gotta be
that.
locked down, it seems to me, well, like 2 months beforehand, and people going out with that information.
Yeah.
Here's what it costs, here's the implication for your tax bill,
Right,
because
right.
that's what it's all about.
And the climate is changing. I think construction costs are going up, interest rates are going up somewhat, so the debt pay-down schedule is a little
yeah, the
bit different
construction
now.
economy is pretty hot at the
It's
moment.
very hot. Boy,
Right.
every time I turn around,
Oh, yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that isn't busier than
Is
I'd
that
like
right?
to
That's
be.
good
Oh,
to
yeah.
hear, though.
I mean, this is at the lower level, but,
Yeah, but even at the big level, look what's
Yeah.
going on in town.
oh, yeah, the upper level, sure.
Oof. It's unbelievable.
Just FYI, I called Eric after the last selectmen's meeting, and I said I don't really want to dilute any efforts to reach out through the tax bill, so
Mm-hmm.
I've just bagged it. We'll do something else instead.
Well, we'll have to, I
No
don't,
problem for me.
okay, well, I appreciate
No,
that.
it's no big deal at all. I'd much rather see the damn police station and town hall
Well,
get built.
I do have some information from Diane about dates and cost and so on and so forth. And, I guess the one, as she stressed, it has to be non-political, so I'm not sure exactly what the content.
So that's the May 1 bill.
Yeah, and it would be going out.
Goes out
The
on
end of
April 1.
March, right?
March 31st it goes
Yeah.
out.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So we'd have to have something to them by the end of February.
So that's a lot of work within a short time.
Yeah, so there is
It
still,
wasn't a lot of money. The stuff I send out is like $400. We email them what I want to
Mm-hmm.
go out, and they just do the printing themselves and it just happens. I think it was well under 500 bucks.
Yeah, I mean, she
Could have
quoted,
been under 4.
yeah,
I don't remember
she
exactly.
quoted me 1,000, but that may have been without actually seeing any copy
Oh,
or
okay,
anything,
well, I'm
so.
talking just a single
Right,
sheet,
and that's-
the
that's-
equivalent.
right,
If you have
that's
more than that, it'll be
right.
more, because this gets you right up to the
The weight
minimum
limit.
postage.
Right, right.
And the time that we had to do more postage, it was like 1,200 bucks.
Yeah,
So I forget that.
right, right.
So are you close enough to having what you think is your recommendation ready?
Not quite sure. CSS has been working on it. I'm not exactly sure when they're, and we have some edits to give to them, so I'm not exactly sure when we're going to have something that's ready to.
Are you envisioning,
present.
or is Eric envisioning, or is Damon and Jeff envisioning a major presentation of the final results?
There will be probably a workshop. The other thing that is being discussed, and I don't have dates to give you right now, is having another joint meeting of, selectmen,
boards.
planning board, everybody, to get some input
I
on
think
this.
that's important, but I think we have to, we had that last time, and everyone was in agreement, and it wasn't passed.
Right, right.
So whatever is necessary to do the outreach that we think is necessary for the votes is important.
Yep.
Does Eric want anything from us at this time?
He hasn't asked for anything. I just suggested that it might be time to give you all an update, and he said, yes, please do that. So he hasn't asked for anything, but certainly pass that on if he does.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Guys, any thoughts?
No, I listened to Eric's presentation, the selectmen's meeting on
Tragedy.
television the other
Should
day.
be
He did a
done.
very good job.
Oh, good.
This-
Well, he always
This
does.
is becoming, it's very insular. Everybody around here
Yes,
knows what's
that-
going on.
that's
and no one on
exactly-
the outside knows
That,
anything.
that's what concerns me.
But we're
That we're gonna
trying,
run into the same thing again.
we're trying to put together timelines so that there are some milestones which can get out there and people can understand what they are and what's going to be presented. And
Has anyone talked with Mark Lechman about reactivating Say Yes?
I don't know if he was involved in some of the original meetings after that October 3rd meeting.
Yes.
He hasn't come recently, but, the impression we had was that they would be ready to go when the
Want me to
time was
call him?
right.
I'll call him.
Let me see if am I not correct, now that I'm thinking about it, at least the tenor of the meeting that I was at, you were there, George,
Yes.
was that maybe a lot of the folks in the audience didn't think that we should bring it back that fast?
There are people who think that. There are people who are sort of wondering why we're, rushing to deal with this. But, from our perspective, we've been talking about the police station issue since at least 2004.
Right.
We have the time clock on the trailers. The longer we're in temporary quarters and, it's money going out the window, basically. It's not being put in any capital asset, so.
Well, on the assumption there's a certain number of recommendations and people who came to that meeting who will never be satisfied. It's like the one-third on this side, one-third on that side, and the other third are in the middle, which I think is maybe where we are here. I still think that, going out and reaching out to as many people as possible in those precincts that we didn't win
Right.
is important.
And I do think it's been suggested, and it was actually suggested the last time around. I think one of the more effective ways of getting the word out will be potentially some neighborhood meetings and things like that. Really neighbor to neighbor, friend to friend. Because that, I think, may reach people that other
that
media
worked.
don't.
It didn't work for the
Didn't.
Little River thing, but it was,
Ri-
I think it helped.
Yeah.
It certainly helped me focus. We went to Marty Webb's house. Dave Mountain was speaking. I thought it was very helpful. I certainly would recommend giving that certainly a shot.
And there are people who have stepped up and said they would be willing to do that in
Hope so,
their,
yeah.
at least in their areas, and hopefully from there, the tree would go out.
Yeah. This is maybe kind of the last chance. I mean, we
But-
don't get too many more bites at the apple, I don't believe.
But our police guys have been incredibly, incredibly patient.
Was that?
The police have been incredibly patient, dealing with deplorable conditions.
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing they have young officers stay more than just long enough to get their resume out there for another job.
John, I don't agree that this is the last bite at the apple. I think you have.
I'm
to
sorry?
keep- I don't agree that this is the last bite at the apple. I think that you have to keep biting it until you get something that makes sense for everybody, because the police can't wait.
Well, maybe
Can't
I
say,
should
well, that's
rephrase it. People are going to get sick of the question fairly soon. And then we've got a little bit of a hiatus before we can bring it up again without saying, oh, them again.
A lot
No?
of people are sick of the question already. I think you just have to keep going at it.
Yeah, I
We're
suppose
not
you're
the
right.
selectmen.
Right.
Yeah.
And, in talking to people from other towns, they've gone through similar things with public facilities. And it seems that, you just kind of have to keep bringing it back, and maybe it gets modified, but you can't just
But
Stop.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Any kind of progress takes time.
Another thing that might be helpful, I would think, would be to have the news interview with pictures, several key.
In the paper?
Yeah, have them do an interview, put it on the front page, color photographs. Each one would have a couple of town officials or building committee officials or whatever, members.
Although, based on my observation of the session that we had here, we need more people who are just from the community making the presentation than the town officials.
Well, okay, you've got a good point. That is a good point.
So anyway, okay, anything else on this then? We're okay? So, really, the last item we have here is the public hearing continuation, and we have a letter from Borrego that's sent to the board, which I'll read. Dear Board, we respectfully request that you continue our public hearing until the March 2nd, 2016 meeting. There are outstanding issues we are working on with DEP. We would like to have those items addressed prior to meeting with the board. Sincerely, Steve Long, professional engineer. So our action here is to accept this letter and to move the meeting to March the 2nd.
to vote to continue
Okay.
it to March 2nd.
I'm looking to you.
Okay, having read the letter from Borrego, I move to continue the public hearing on this matter until Wednesday, March 2, at, do you want 7:15 or 7:30?
Be helpful for me, the later the better.
7:30.
Does that make sense to everybody? 7:30, okay with everybody?
Second. Ready for a second?
Second. Any comment on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done.
The only reason I recommended 7:30, for the last few times, we've got a few minutes before the public hearing.
Yeah,
We try to get some things done, but there's never enough time. We always run over.
It's
So
fine.
let us run over to 7:30.
okay. So liaison reports, Board of Selectmen, nada?
Not too much, really.
Yeah.
Last one was, Eric, report, but not too much.
And I have nothing from Envy, because we're not meeting this month, although that's a new thing. I'm not sure whether they're not meeting in January. But we do, Martha did get information, some new population projections from Tony that we're looking at to see how they fit with all these other population projections that we've gotten. They do, MVPC always does these projections that are important for their transportation plan.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they look at these macro issues, and the MAPC looks at macro issues, but what's changing the numbers right now is the fact that instead of looking at just a continuation of past trends, which is what they did to get us to like a projection of 8,000 residents by 2035, they're kind of going with the MAPC projections, which said, we think there's going to be a change in the way that development occurs, and that this smart growth concept of having development, near transit and near highways, et cetera, is going to take off. So therefore, when we do that, your numbers go down to 6,045 or 6,400, 6,400, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Anyway.
Actually, I think 6,800 was kind of the final number on one of those. But
So what I think is, we have to look at that. I've had a discussion with Brian from Triton in terms of what their projections are, and they're redoing theirs. We have the ones that come from MAPC, and sometime in the next month or so, we're gonna be looking at this map that looks at where the water is and where the soils are, and we're gonna do some kind of a land capability analysis of what our development is, and I think that based on all of that, we'll make some judgment calls about what the right projections are. But the critical items to me are not the massive numbers, it's those differentials between the elderly population, which is exploding, and the young youth population, which is declining. So we have to come to grips with that. So we'll have to work on that, but that was interesting. So,
When are we meeting with the
consultants?
master, yeah, again? Is there a date?
Yeah, we
yet?
just met with the Economic Development / Housing Group,
Yeah,
but that was just a subgroup.
yeah.
I don't know, do you have a date for the,
I don't have a date.
let's do it soon,
Yeah,
maybe first week in March? Or you could do
Yeah.
it in February, if you want to do that,
yeah, would be,
with the larger group?
yeah. I mean, maybe we could talk about that and,
Okay. But the answer is we don't have it. And they do owe, I think, some other products, don't they, or not? Well, well, their major
Some-
next project is the land use plan.
right, so the follow-up,
And that'll be a development feasibility analysis, so.
right. And MVPC is in the process of kind of updating the maps from the previous master plan and then getting them ready to use for, our purposes for this round.
One of my groups, which is the Community Facilities Group, we've got, maybe 40% of the work done in rewriting it. But we've got a lot more work to do because we've got to take on recreation and a number of other facilities, but and each of us has picked on a group, but we're working on it. And then the other elements are the natural resources. You got any?
Right, and transportation and historic and cultural resources. So I'm trying to find times, quite honestly, I've got so many nighttime meetings going right now that I'm trying to find times during the day when these groups can get together. I've talked to some who are willing to do that, so I've got to get that scheduled.
Is it true, Martha, that you go to more meetings than any other person in town?
Probably not more than Tracy,
More than Tracy.
but
Well,
we
she's
might,
not here.
we might be in a tie.
Yeah, I think that's a problem. I kind of implied that in the letter, but
Yeah, I know you did.
anyway, it is what it is. I don't, it's got to be right as opposed to fast. Really, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Right, and one of the things for the, I think a lot of the open space, the natural resources is going to be pretty straightforward, but one of the things that Gerard is concerned about is updating the map, showing open space and protected parcels, especially the chapter parcels, because that's
61A and
the
61B.
61A and 61B. So there will be some interface with the assessors to get that.
Good. Good.
And Tony's trying to collect crash data for, 3 consecutive years to work into the transfer.
Sorry?
Tony Komornik's trying
Yeah.
to gather crash data for 3 consecutive years. I guess 2014 is missing, so that,
Oh.
we've got, some sense of
Yeah.
those issues updated.
Okay.
The town census went out, and I wonder when is that due?
I don't remember.
That would be important to see
Yeah.
what that gives us.
No,
It just came.
Just came.
yep, just came. Yeah, and it
Monday.
takes
Mine last week.
I got mine, I don't know when it was, but I mean,
mine yesterday, I think.
Just
I'll
slide
tell you
under
when it's
Leslie's door.
slide it under Leslie's door.
But even once it comes in, it's quite a process to actually compile it and tabulate it
Oh, I'm
and
sure
all
it
of that
is.
stuff. So,
Do they, what kind of data do they come up with? They don't do cohort analysis, they just have,
Yep.
here's the number of people.
yeah.
It asks for a response within 10 days.
Yeah,
But there are always stragglers.
number of dogs and cats.
Yes.
Well, anyway, so that's MVPC. Concom, anything new?
No, not on the Concom, but I got some new business. Everybody has the new subdivision rules and regs, I believe, right? They went out to everybody.
Right.
If anyone, I would ask that you read it, and if anyone has any questions, please track me down. And not necessarily at the meeting, although that's okay with me, but, just give me a call.
Okay. Have they gone out to?
No, they're not. They're about to.
Yeah, they're gonna go out tomorrow.
Oh, good, okay.
And so the thought is to sort of get all the comments back in and then synthesize and
Yeah.
then prepare the draft for public hearing.
Yeah, yeah. And
So-
when does the planning board vote come? After the public hearing?
After the public hearing,
Okay.
right.
There need
It
to
would
be
be a-
some sort of a straw poll, I would think, to get it to the public hearing.
Right, and yeah, and that would be,
Right.
Yeah.
compiling the comments and agreeing on the comments and,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff, and
Yeah.
that will include town council and
Yeah.
engineers and,
How long will you
Other
give the
departments.
peer review people?
what do you think's reasonable?
It came back pretty fast the last time. I wasn't going to give them a time. I would just say as soon as you can.
Okay.
And if we don't get it back in a couple of weeks, I'll get on the horn and rattle a cage or two.
Okay,
We're sending him out to 2 consultants and Ed Dearden, who is
right,
grandfather of all Newbury civil engineers.
yeah, okay. All right, that sounds good. ZBA?
Nothing, meeting tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
But-
I'll tell you, there's an awful lot of building going on out there.
There's gonna be more building.
It's amazing,
It's all within the framework of the law and the bylaws.
yeah. It's a lot of stuff.
So while we're on the ZBA, there were a couple of scheduling things that I wanted to talk to the board about. One is, we had talked a while ago about some suggestions that Sam had for some zoning amendments, mostly housekeeping stuff. Given everything that's going on right now and the fact that town meeting is going to be a month earlier, I think the likelihood of actually going through the process to get these things done is probably pretty slim, but Susan has also suggested, which we've done before, and I think would be a good idea, to hold a joint meeting with the ZBA and Sam to see if there are any other issues that should be addressed. I know that Eric is concerned about the PIOD and the limitations on commercial development down on Plum Island, but that's sort of bigger than we are. That really is part of the administrative consent order. So I wanted to get a sense from the board if you, have any idea of when you might like to hold the meeting, if we want to try to invite the ZBA here or meet on their night, or hold something completely independently. I think they meet.
We're looking at annual town meeting?
I think at this point, given the public hearing process and the fact that there was nothing really burning that was coming from Sam, I think we'd be looking potentially, if everybody's okay with this, looking potentially at the special town meeting.
It's a special. okay,
Instead of
so
the
there's no
annual.
screaming rush.
Right, unless anybody feels very strongly about any particular thing at this point.
I'd like to hear about some of the thoughts about what people think about Plum Island.
Is it primarily Plum Island that the issues are around, or?
Well, Plum Island is one. One of the issues still is building height
Yeah.
and how that's being interpreted. The language, there's always an attempt to kind of tweak that to help the interpretation. And that applies really on Plum Island. It's town-wide, but it really comes into play on Plum Island projects. The other is Eric's. Eric does have some concerns about the PIOD, which he would like to have addressed.
Eric,
Eric Svan.
his role on the ZBA.
On the ZBA. And then there were, the other ones that Sam had suggested was, some relief on the side and rear yard setbacks for small structures.
So mostly a lot of technical stuff.
Yeah, so it's really, as he said, it's housekeeping. It's
Well, that's
nothing
fine.
that's
Let's just do
really, really an issue. And so he could provide his reasoning for the things that he is suggesting, and then we can find out what the issues are that the ZBA has in enforcing or, granting relief on some of these things, what the issues are that come up
Well,
when it goes through their process.
Figure out a time and set it up.
So, I think the ZBA is actually meeting, on the 21st?
Meeting tomorrow, I think.
Oh, is it tomorrow? Yeah, so it's
Tomorrow night,
two,
but normally it's the third Thursday of every month
right.
that is scheduled, and if we don't need to have a meeting, then it's called off. But this is a continuation of a prior project.
So, well, how about if I work with Susan and we can just send
Good.
something out and try to get some dates that work for everybody. The other, if we can, is there anything else on the ZBA? If not, there's one other scheduling thing. As I mentioned in my email, Chris Horan was going to come tonight to submit an application for his church project in Byfield, and it's going to require a special permit from the planning board for multifamily, 4 units, a minor site plan review, which doesn't actually require a public hearing, that can be administrative on my part, but since we're holding the public hearing anyway, it seems that it would make sense to roll that in. And it's also going to require the special permit from the selectmen for work in the water supply protection district, because it's more than 15% of the lot area's impervious surface. Chris is going to submit that application to the selectmen next Tuesday. And what I'd like to do, if at all possible, is to be able to give the selectmen some options on dates that you all, whether we try to, Chris is trying to move this along. So his ideal would be to actually schedule the public hearing for March 2nd. We've already got Borrego going that night. Another option would be to hold it at the selectmen's meeting following that, which would be March 8th.
Yes.
Or to try to find
Let's do
some
that,
other night.
yeah.
March 8th.
Okay.
I would think it would make more sense to go to the selectmen's meeting.
Yeah, we'll go
Okay.
to the selectmen's meeting.
All right, so I'll propose that to them. Hopefully that will be okay. It
Okay.
will require, supermajority for both. Since John is recusing himself from that, it will be important that the 5 of you be there, as it will be important for all 5 selectmen to be there.
Right.
Now, what's the date, Martha?
That would be March 8th,
March 8th.
right, if they vote to do that.
Okay,
So that will come into, Chris will then be submitting that to the board on February 3rd. And we don't need a supermajority to accept the application and set the public hearing date, but we will know by then what the Board of Selectmen's disposition is on that, and can vote to set
Good.
the public hearing that night.
okay. Shouldn't be any issue. Okay, anything else?
I think that's all I have for the moment.
Anybody else have anything they want to chat
You might
about?
want to think about recruiting for this seat here, for somebody that might want to run.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to switch him with you and go for the recruiting for his seat.
So, Peter, you're going to run, and so we need to recruit an alternate.
Right, an associate member.
We have to recruit an associate member. Is that right, Peter? Right. That's what I hope is right.
Actually, Peter would be elected then and not appointed, correct?
Yes, he would be running.
Because it's right at the
At the
time when
election,
John leaves.
Right, so he will be running for John's seat.
John's
So
seat.
that would be a 5-year, and I was talking to Leslie today. Jim, you're appointed as well. So I think that you will have to run to fill out the seat that you are in. And I honestly can't remember who's,
Whose it
That's what
was?
happened to me when I joined.
right,
Well, no, I ran for 1 year.
It's Kathleen's.
It's
Kathleen's seat.
It's Kathleen's
His
seat.
term.
You're David's.
I'm David.
You're Kathleen.
You're Kathleen.
I'm David Mountain.
Yeah, but now you're on your own. Right, so I'll sort that out with Leslie, but hopefully you're willing to run and continue to be. So we'll let you know what, how many years it is to fill out her term.
Oh,
I'll hold a placard for you.
well, it would be 5, wasn't it?
No, she.
Into it.
Oh,
she
for
was-
Jim, you
yeah,
mean?
for
Oh, for Jim.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Pete-
no, yeah.
Pete would be running for 5 for John's seat.
It's, I think, only 2 left on
Yeah,
her.
I don't remember.
She and I ran at the exact same time 4 years ago. And then I was elected again. You know what, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think she had maybe a year and change left. Maybe she's got 1 more year. Anyway, Leslie will tell you.
Right, we'll get that sorted out.
Okay. Good. Anything else? Then, could I have a
Move to
a
adjourn.
move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This was close to a record.